Hi, my name is Andrew Crapo. I'm an information scientist specializing in ontologies and semantic models, meaning that my professional work focuses on how to represent what exists and what things mean. I have a PhD in decision sciences from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I have a keen interest in the debate over same-sex marriage. I thought it might be interesting to apply the tools of my trade to understanding the conflicting views of marriage. The first modeling concept I'd like to apply is that of classification. A type or class is a group of things that are similar in some way important to the modeling purpose. When we classify a hierarchy of types, we usually base it on set theory. Taking an example from biology, let's start with the animal kingdom. We can break that down into subclasses, which include birds, mammals, reptiles, etc. Leaving out some layers for brevity, dogs and cats are types of mammal. When we say that dog is a subclass of mammal, we mean that every instance of a dog is also an instance of a mammal. Now let's look at a class hierarchy called a taxonomy of human relationships. Here's a traditional view. This is incomplete and only shows some examples of those types of relationship important to the topic. We've used domestic partnership to characterize a relationship of living together with commitment. Of course, not every domestic partnership of heterosexual couples is a marriage. Same-sex marriage advocates wish to replace the traditional taxonomy with a new one in which gender does not play a role in the definition of marriage. In this model, I've made the two subclasses of marriage gray because they would not exist under the law. That's what marriage equality means. Let's look a little deeper at definitions of these two types of marriage. Here I'm going to draw on views expressed in the book Debating Same-Sex Marriage by John Corvino and Maggie Gallagher, Oxford University Press, 2012. I recommend the book as an excellent way to review the arguments on both sides of the debate. Supporters of traditional marriage see marriage as inseparable from the procreative process. Here is a simple model of that process, which includes several events depicted in the diagram. The ovals represent types of events. The rectangles represent types of participants. The green rectangles indicate participants who are agents. An agent is a participant that takes some action, as opposed to those only being acted upon. The arrows into an event oval represent participation. The arrows out of an event represent something that is produced or changed into something else by the event or the process. An arrow from one rectangle to another rectangle represents something that comes from something else in an event or process not shown in the model. Note that in this process model, the output of any event is not certain but is possible. The model shows a type of process. Note also that when it comes to conception, it is one egg and one sperm, as indicated by the numbers on the input arrows. A third observation is that until recently, conception always occurred by sexual intercourse between a man and a woman, and the woman who provided the egg was also the woman who gave birth. While artificial insemination, sperm banks, in vitro fertilization, and surrogate mothers now exist, the majority of children still come into the world as they have in the past. Now let's look at a second model that illustrates traditional marriage. The marriage event involves a man and a woman and creates a family unit. As a process, marriage involves the same man and woman and may produce children. This view of marriage as a process is very closely aligned with the procreative process, as illustrated by this overlay. The role of the man and woman in this process, as well as the child-rearing process not shown but which follows birth if the child is to survive, are mother and father. Hence Gallagher's question of which word is marriage more like: red, dog, marriage, or corporation. If you see the social world model of marriage as a reflection of the physical world model of how children are created, then you would probably answer mother. The model of traditional marriage in the legal world was, until the legalization of same-sex marriage in some jurisdictions, essentially the same as the model in the social world. Same-sex marriage creates a new model, shown here. Marriage becomes a relationship in which people can participate but cannot be created. Procreation is only possible in a subtype of marriage that is not and cannot be recognized under marriage equality law. The only inherent constraint on the number of persons who might participate in a marriage is that it must be greater than one to be a relationship. The binary sense of marriage arguably comes from the conception event. Even in a polygamous society, each relationship between a man and a woman is usually seen as a separate binary relationship, as a separate marriage occurring in a particular time and place. The societal question with regards to polygamy is not how many people can participate in a marriage, but how many simultaneous marriages one person can participate in. In the revised legal definition, the binary sense of the marriage relationship is no longer rooted in the physical world and can be easily changed. I am a supporter of retaining the traditional legal meaning of marriage as a union of one man and one woman. This is not because I wish to stop anyone from pursuing happiness, but because marriage serves a unique and essential role in society. I view marriage and same-sex partnerships as being so fundamentally different that they require separate treatment under the law. They make significantly different contributions to the well-being of individuals and societies, and I believe to confound them would be a mistake. I have tried to illustrate the competing views of marriage in a more formal and exact way to illustrate that there are fundamental differences, in the hopes that more people will engage in a deliberative, meaningful way and consider whether the differences between the two legal definitions are important to them. Thank you for listening.